Welcome to another edition of Through a Veteran's Eye. I'm your host, Fred Shinbur, filling in for Art Callahan. Our program today will provide you, veterans, veterans' families, and veterans' friends with information concerning benefits and services that are available. Once again, this program is our way of saying thanks for all you, as veterans, have done for this great nation. Before I get to our guest today, I want to remind you of the telephone number of Maryland's Commitment to Veterans Behavioral Health Services, which is a hotline for veterans and their families needing help with behavioral health issues. That number is 1-877-770-4801. We'll run that number several times during this and every program. Welcome home. During this segment, we will discuss an initiative launched by Maryland Public Television, MPT, that is believed to be the most significant community initiative in its 40-plus year history. MPT will broadcast a multi-part documentary that will be called the Welcome Home and the Thank You that were missing when so many men and women of the Vietnam era came back to the United States. The initiative is MPT Salutes Maryland's Vietnam Veterans. Our guest today is Mr. Richard Laurie, Vice President of Development, Maryland Public Television. Welcome, Rick.
Thank you for having me, Fred.
Really appreciate you coming all the way
No
to
problem.
Hagerstown for this opportunity.
Sure.
Rick, this is a huge project. What is the rationale and why is this program necessary?
Well, I think you articulated it in the opening, that this welcome home, this thank you has never been given to Vietnam veterans. And you're on our task force for this, and at the last meeting, there was the physician who was there who talked about going to a conference and being in uniform, and somebody asking him where he served, and he said Vietnam, and somebody said thank you for the first time in 40 years. And I think that personifies it more than anything why we're doing this.
Excellent. What is it, has a program of this nature been attempted before?
Yeah, in public television, South Dakota Public Television did a very small version of it. And then in 2010, Wisconsin Public Television did an enormous initiative that ended up as the largest outreach event in the history of public television.
Can you describe that a little bit?
Well, they started the same way that we are. We're going to do a 3-hour documentary that'll air in 2016. I'll talk about that in a little bit. And then as the project grew and as they talked to veterans across the state of Wisconsin, they realized it was larger than just 3 hours of documentary footage, which is huge in its own right. So they put together an outreach event, a weekend of events at Lambeau Field, which is where the Packers are, in Green Bay, Wisconsin. 70,000 people were there that weekend, and it was absolutely spectacular.
It had to be just breathtaking for a lot of the Vietnam veterans. Had to be. Well, as you mentioned already, but MPT activated a task force to help with this endeavor. Which types of groups comprise this task force?
Well, it's across the board. There are private citizens. We have some military advisors with this, heads of the various Vietnam chapters around the counties in Maryland, private citizens, anybody who feels, as we do, that this cause is worth doing and worth investing about 3 years of their time.
What is the mission of this task force? What
mission is to guide us. We're going to air this in 2016, which will coincide with a Ken Burns documentary on Vietnam, which will be 12 hours, which will premiere sometime in the fall of 2016, to help define the shape of the three-day event that we're going to do in Maryland someplace. We're still looking at various venues to help with fundraising, which is enormous magnitude of a project of this kind, and just to help us shape, particularly the folks like you who are veterans of the Vietnam War, what best we can do to serve those Vietnam veterans that really deserve this tribute.
Well, this documentary that you're talking about with Ken Burns, that's on PBS.
That's on PBS.
Okay.
Right.
Okay, and that's going to be a huge thing. And
it will be 12 hours in the fall of 16.
Well, can you discuss, are you at liberty to discuss any of the plans that MPT has for this salute?
Oh, sure. I mean, the weekend, again, we're settling on a venue, hopefully in the next month or so. We want to invite Vietnam veterans free of charge and their families and people who are interested in this process to this event. There will be an educational component. We want to involve every school in the state of Maryland in this, to help the kids, the younger people in the state of Maryland, where the Vietnam War is an absolute abstraction. Mostly though, it's to enable the Vietnam veterans from around the state, and they'll come from outside the state. Wisconsin had visitors from 29 states in the country to get together and share stories and share hugs and share the love that they maybe didn't get when they came home.
Well, in the short time we have remaining, Rick, can you briefly describe, you've already kicked off some of this called listening sessions. Can you just briefly touch on what that is, please?
The producer of the 3-hour documentary at MPT is Ken Day, who does just great work. Ken and I will, the first one of these is with the Baltimore chapter of the Vietnam vets on the 28th of this month. We are asking people to set up these listening sessions with 10 to 12 Vietnam vets. Ken and I, no cameras, no videotape, and just as it suggests, to listen to what their stories are, and then Ken from that will glean, invite some of these people back to be part of the documentary.
And I guess one thing you mentioned on that we probably ought to touch on funding. Is there going to be an effort to raise funds for this? Because this is obviously not cost neutral.
No, this is the biggest event easily in the 43-year history of Maryland Public Television. And it's going to be money in and money out. We're not going to make a dime on this, but it's a $2 million endeavor over the year. We are going to hire a coordinator. A 3-hour documentary comes with an enormous price, but really where most of the cost will come from will be the event itself. Just the rent. The Wisconsin folks thought they got a deal from Lambeau for only a $100,000 rental, just to give you an idea. And if we can do that, we'd be thrilled.
Well, we want to hear more. We'd like to get you back in 6 months for an update.
Happy to.
We appreciate you coming all the way to Hagerstown to enlighten our viewers about this recognition of the Vietnam veterans. Thank you for your commitment to our nation's heroes, our veterans. Really do appreciate you coming all the way down here.
Proud to do it.
This is Through a Veteran's Eye. Thank you for watching. And we hope to, again, get you back soon because this is going to be big in Washington County.
Amen.
I promise you that.
Amen.
Thank you.